Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien universe. The night on Zarn 5 was cold and quiet. The markets had closed, the lights were dim, and the streets were empty. Only one figure moved through the shadows, a human trader named Jack Rowe. He had just finished a long delivery job and was walking back to his small cargo ship. Jack liked this time of night. It was peaceful. No noise, no crowd, just the sound of his boots on the dusty ground. But something felt wrong tonight. As he passed a broken alley near the junk market, he heard a soft noise. It wasn't loud, but enough to stop him. It sounded like crying, very faint, like someone trying to stay hidden. Jack turned his head, his eyes scanning the dark space between two rusted dumpsters. He saw movement. Carefully, he walked closer and crouched down. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. Two alien girls, very thin, very dirty, and clearly scared. They were hiding behind the dumpsters, their small arms wrapped tightly around their legs. One of them had large violet eyes that glowed softly in the dark. The other's cheeks were wet with tears. They looked no older than 10 or 11 in human years. When they saw Jack, they shrank back. The older one moved in front of the younger, trying to protect her. She didn't speak, but her eyes were full of fear. She expected Jack to yell or hit or report them. Jack didn't move closer. Instead, he slowly reached into his bag and pulled out 2 food packs. He placed them gently on the ground and backed away. "It's okay," he said in a soft voice. "You're safe. Eat." For a few seconds, the girls didn't move. Then slowly, the older one crawled forward and grabbed the food. She sniffed it, then quickly tore it open and handed it to her sister. They ate like they hadn't seen food in days. Jack stood there quietly, not wanting to scare them. "Where are your parents?" he asked. The older one looked up, then down again. She didn't answer. Jack sighed. He knew the rules of Zarn 5. Homeless aliens, especially children, were treated badly. Some were taken for labor. Some just disappeared. But something in his chest told him he couldn't walk away. "What are your names?" he asked, kneeling slowly. The older one looked into his eyes this time. "I am Ravi," she said, her voice cracked and weak. "This is Senna, my sister." Jack nodded. "Nice to meet you, Ravi. I'm Jack. You two hungry?" She looked at the empty food packs and gave a small nod. Jack pulled out a small thermal blanket from his coat. He placed it on the ground. "You can sleep here. I'll stay close, okay? Nobody will hurt you." Ravi looked unsure, but exhaustion won. She and Senna curled up together on the blanket. Jack sat with his back against the wall, eyes watching the alley. Hours passed. Around midnight, Ravi opened her eyes and sat up. She looked at Jack. In a small, tired voice, she said something that made him freeze. "They are looking for us." "Who?" Jack asked, his body tense now. "The ones who took our home," she whispered. "They killed our family. We ran. We hide now." Jack felt a heavy weight in his chest. Why would anyone do that? Ravi pulled out a small, glowing pendant from under her torn shirt. It was old, gold, and pulsing faint light. "Because we are not just children," she said quietly. "We are exiled royals." The words hung in the air like a shockwave. Jack stared at the pendant. It looked like something from ancient legends, something tied to power and danger. Before he could ask more, a sharp noise came from the alley entrance. A dark figure passed by, pausing just long enough to look in. Jack quickly covered the girls with his coat and pressed a finger to his lips. The figure moved on. But Jack's mind was racing. 2 alien girls. Homeless. Starving. And now he learns they are part of a fallen royal family. He didn't know what to do next. But one thing was clear. He had just stepped into something much bigger than he expected. Feeding 2 alien sisters was supposed to be a small act of kindness. Instead, it might become the beginning of a war. The sun had not yet risen on Zarn 5, but danger had already woken. Jack Rowe stood outside a quiet repair shop near the spaceport. Ravi and Senna were hidden in a locked storage bin behind the building. Jack told them to stay quiet. No sound, no light. His instincts were screaming. Something was wrong, and he was right. Across the street, in the shadows of a broken neon sign, a tall creature stood watching. Its skin was black and smooth like polished stone. Two glowing red eyes locked onto Jack with silent hunger. The hunter had arrived. But this was no bounty hunter. This was a void stalker, a rare and dangerous tracker bred to hunt royal bloodlines. And Jack had unknowingly placed himself between it and its prey. The moment the sun's first light touched the city, the void stalker moved. Jack turned just in time to see it leaping across the street, silent, fast, and deadly. He barely dodged, rolling into the alley and grabbing his pulse pistol. The shot he fired hit the creature's leg, but it barely flinched. That's when Ravi screamed. The creature heard her. It turned, eyes blazing. Jack jumped between the bin and the hunter. "You'll have to go through me," Jack growled. The void stalker lunged. But then something strange happened. As it neared the bin, Ravi's pendant lit up again, this time brighter, pulsing waves of ancient energy. The creature stopped midair, frozen, as if hit by an invisible force. It fell to the ground, twitching. Jack grabbed the girls and ran. He didn't know where. Just away. Through narrow alleys under broken bridges, through steam-filled vents. They ran without looking back. Finally, he found an old sewer entrance near the city's edge. They slipped inside. Wet, dark, and cold, but safe. For now. Inside the tunnel, Jack looked at Ravi. What was that light? She was shaking. The pendant. It's not just a key. It holds ancestral protection. Only royal blood can use it. Senna clung to her sister's arm, eyes wide with fear. Jack sat down and breathed deeply. That thing wasn't after me. It was after you. Ravi nodded. More will come. Always more. Until we are gone. Jack looked at the little girls sitting beside him, soaked, tired, terrified. He had a ship. He had a way out. But taking them with him could make him the target of an entire ruling faction. Maybe worse. Still, something inside him whispered, "You can't leave them." He nodded to himself. "We're not running anymore. We're going to find out what this pendant truly is, and we're going to finish what your family started." Ravi blinked in surprise. "You will help us?" Jack smiled. "I didn't sign up for this, but I've made my choice." From above, the sound of metal boots echoed faintly. The hunt wasn't over, but now they weren't just prey. They were fugitives with purpose, and Jack was no longer just a traitor. He had just become a protector of royal blood, and possibly the spark of a galactic storm. The sewer tunnel was quiet now. Drops of water echoed through the darkness, but Jack couldn't sleep. He stared at the glowing pendant in Ravi's hands, the soft light pulsing like a heartbeat. It wasn't just a symbol. It was alive. Earlier, it had stopped a void stalker, a creature known to kill anything without mercy. That kind of power couldn't be ordinary. Jack sat beside Ravi, who was slowly drifting to sleep while holding Senna close. He leaned closer and whispered, "Where did that pendant come from?" Ravi opened her eyes just a little. "It belonged to our mother. She told us, if we are in danger, never let it go." Jack nodded. "Was she a queen?" Ravi hesitated, then whispered, "She was more than that. She was the last blood speaker." Jack froze. That name was ancient. He had only read it once in a banned book. Blood speaker was a rare royal who could command lost technology using only their voice and mind. It was a forgotten gift, wiped from history after the royal purges. And now, a child was holding the key. Suddenly, the pendant glowed brighter. Jack leaned back. The air around them began to hum, and lines of light formed on the tunnel wall. A map appeared, floating, three-dimensional, made of golden light. Ravi gasped. I didn't do this, and Jack stood. Then someone else activated it. From the center of the map, a single star blinked. Not Zarn 5, but a world long believed destroyed. Velthoria Prime. Velthoria. The birthplace of the old royal bloodlines. Jack stared at it. Is that where you're from? Ravi nodded slowly. Our family escaped when the purge began. We were sent here as children, hidden, but something went wrong. The people meant to protect us turned cruel. We ran. Jack looked at the blinking star. If this map is real, then someone left it for you to find. And then it hit him. This pendant wasn't just a key or protection. It was a summon, a signal. Somewhere in the galaxy, something or someone ancient was still waiting for the return of the royal bloodline. Jack paced, mind racing. That planet, it's not just a memory. It's calling you back. Ravi stood, gripping the pendant. But we can't go there. We have no ship, no help. The people hunting us, they'll never let us leave this planet. Jack turned and smiled. I have a ship. Ravi blinked. You'll really take us? He nodded. I've smuggled goods across black holes, raced pirates through asteroid belts. What's a trip with 2 alien princesses and a galactic secret? Ravi gave a tired, hopeful smile for the first time. But outside the sewer tunnel, deep in the city, a quiet signal had been received. Someone had tracked the ancient tech's activation, and someone was already preparing to intercept them. They had no idea who was watching, and Jack was about to learn. Helping 2 starving alien girls was the easiest part. What came next could shake the stars. The sky above Zarn 5 turned red as warning sirens echoed across the outer sectors. Jack's ship, the Rust Claw, sat hidden in a repair yard beneath a tarp of rusted metal. Ravi and Senna were inside, huddled near the engine room. Jack had paid a shady mechanic named Vrog to patch the ship's fuel line fast, but something didn't feel right. His gut was screaming again, and he should have listened. As Jack handed Vrog a data chip loaded with credits, the mechanic gave a sly grin. Hope your passengers enjoy the stars, Vrog said with a strange tone. Jack narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Before Vrog could answer, a sharp crack split the air. Flashbangs exploded at the yard's entrance. Dozens of black-armored mercenaries poured in with pulse rifles raised. Target is here, someone shouted. Secure the royal bloodline. Jack didn't think. He ran. He burst into the ship and slammed the emergency lockdown. Ravi grabbed Senna's hand. They found us, Jack growled. We've been sold out. The ship rattled as mercs tried to cut through the outer hull. Jack rushed to the cockpit. Hold on. The Rust Claw roared to life and lifted into the sky, breaking through smoke and laser fire. The mercenaries scattered, but a few small hunter crafts gave chase. Inside, Ravi cried out, Jack! The pendant, it's glowing again! Jack looked back and saw the pendant floating mid-air, projecting symbols no one could understand. Ravi's eyes rolled back as her body stiffened. Ravi! Jack shouted. Her voice suddenly changed. Deeper. Older. He who carries royal flame, beware the broken throne. Trust no one with the crest of the phoenix, and just like that, Ravi collapsed into Jack's arms. Jack shook her gently. Ravi? What was that? Senna was sobbing now. That wasn't her. That was our mother's voice. I've heard it in dreams. The pendant had awakened something ancient. Now flying through the clouds, Jack realized he couldn't trust anyone, not even old allies. Everyone wanted something. The pendant, the power, the royal blood. They weren't just hunted. They were the center of a galactic game of lies, greed, and betrayal. Jack made a choice. We can't go to Velthoria alone, he muttered. We'll need help. But only from someone who hates the royals just enough to protect their last chance. He sent out a coded message to an old contact, an outlaw queen named Kira, a former rebel who once fought the same war that destroyed Ravi's family. But deep in space, someone else read that signal, and not everyone who smiled at Jack was truly on his side. A planet with no name, no orbit charts, hidden from all star maps. It was wrapped in black storms and surrounded by dead satellites. Jack had to fly blind through the cloud belt, guided only by the strange pulses coming from Ravi's pendant. The ship jolted violently as they entered the storm. "Everything's dark," Jack muttered, checking the flickering controls. "No stars, no signals. It's like the galaxy is holding its breath." Suddenly the pendant lit up again, brighter than ever. Ravi held it close, and her eyes glowed the same golden hue. She whispered, "We're here." Below them, through the clouds, a massive structure emerged from the dark mountains. Black towers rose like broken bones covered in alien symbols lost to history. "This is the vault?" Jack asked. "Yes," Ravi said. "Our ancestors built it to hide something too powerful for the galaxy." They landed in silence. The ground was frozen and cracked. Wind howled like a cry of warning. At the entrance stood a giant circular door, untouched by time. Ravi stepped forward. The pendant floated again, then sank gently into the center of the door. A voice echoed through the valley, not in words but in thoughts. "Ancient. Testing. Blood recognized. Entry granted." The door opened with a thunderous groan. Inside, golden lights came alive, revealing vast halls full of glowing data stones, ancient machines, and one large central platform, on which sat a device unlike anything Jack had ever seen. It wasn't a weapon. It was a galactic harmonizer, a machine that could unite enemy species' minds, end wars with empathy, and rewrite hatred into peace. Jack stepped back, stunned. "This is not for war. This is for peace." Ravi touched the device. "Our family tried to use it once. The warlords feared it. They destroyed our people to stop this from changing the galaxy." Just then a deep voice echoed through the chamber. "Which is why it must remain buried." Jack spun around, gun raised. Standing in the shadows was Kira, the outlaw queen he contacted. She was no longer alone. Her soldiers had surrounded them. "You betrayed me," Jack growled. Kira smiled coldly. "No, Jack. I just remembered why peace is dangerous. It takes power away from people like me." Ravi and Senna held each other tight. Kira pointed her weapon at the harmonizer. "Either you leave the girls and walk away, or I destroy everything." Jack raised his hand slowly, but his mind was racing. If this device falls, so does hope. But if he fights, he must do it alone. And then, Ravi whispered something that made Jack freeze. "We're not alone." From deep inside the vault, something stirred, old, forgotten, awakened by the bloodline. The vault trembled, dust fell from the ceiling. Ancient machines sparked and hummed as something deep below roared to life. Jack stood between Kira's soldiers and the harmonizer, gripping his weapon tightly. Behind him, Ravi clutched the pendant, her hands glowing with strange light. Senna pressed against her, shaking but silent. Kira's voice was sharp. "Last warning, Jack. Move aside." Jack didn't blink. "You destroy that machine, you don't just kill a dream, you curse the galaxy." Then it happened. From the heart of the vault, a giant figure rose, half machine, half guardian. A construct built by the first Royal Engineers, long asleep, now fully awake. Its voice was like thunder. "This vault is sacred. Invaders will be judged." Panic hit Kira's soldiers. Two ran. One fired at the construct. The blast bounced off like dust hitting stone. The Guardian raised its arm, and with a flash of light, the attacker vanished in a blink. Kira stepped back. "What is that thing?" Ravi whispered. "Protector of the last light. It only listens to royal blood." Jack grabbed Ravi's shoulder. "Can you control it?" She shook her head. "I can ask, but it chooses." Jack turned. The Guardian's eyes glowed bright red as it stared at them all. Then suddenly it knelt before Ravi. "Order, Queen-to-be." Kira's face went pale. Ravi raised her voice, full of courage for the first time. "Protect the peace. Defend the harmonizer. Let none pass." The Guardian roared and moved like a storm. Blasters fired. Screams echoed. Kira tried to flee, but Jack caught her, pinning her against a stone. Pillar. You wanted power? This is what real power looks like. Outside, their escape ship stood ready, but now surrounded by new attackers. The Bounty faction had tracked them to the vault. Dropships landed across the cliffs. Jack knew they were outnumbered, but Ravi had one more trick. She walked to the edge of the vault and held the pendant high. It shone like a second sun. From the horizon, something responded, a signal from the sky. An old Velthorian battle satellite hidden for centuries blinked online. It's answering the blood, Ravi said. It will protect us. The satellite fired. Missiles rained down on enemy dropships, blasting them from the cliff's edge. Jack looked at Ravi and whispered, "Remind me never to underestimate hungry little girls again." She smiled. With enemies scattered and the harmonizer safe, Jack looked to the sky. But deep in his mind, he knew. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The galaxy would hear of this day, and someone, somewhere, was already preparing to stop them before the next move could be made. 3 suns rose slowly over the peaceful green hills of Earth's outer colony, New Eden. Birds flew in the sky. Children laughed in the distance. But near a quiet forest clearing, 2 alien sisters knelt in the soft grass, touching flowers they had never seen before. Ravi looked up at the blue sky, her violet eyes full of wonder. "Is this what peace feels like?" Senna nodded with a small smile, holding a fresh-baked roll in her tiny hands. "It smells happy here." Behind them, Jack Rose sat on a log, fixing the old pendant with tiny tools. Though burned and cracked, it still pulsed faint light, a memory of everything they had survived together. Weeks had passed since the battle at the vault. The harmonizer was now protected by neutral forces from 3 systems, and the Guardian remained silent, sleeping until called again. But peace wasn't easy. Ravi and Senna were still hunted. The Bounty factions had doubled their reward. Kira had escaped, and dark whispers spoke of a new war rising. Yet Jack had made a decision. He didn't leave them. He didn't run back to his old life. He built them a home, small, safe, and hidden in New Eden's hills. Here they were not royal fugitives. They were just 2 girls, and the man who refused to let them be forgotten. One day, Ravi asked Jack a question while watching the stars. "Why did you help us that night? You could have walked away." Jack stared at the sky, then at the sisters beside him. "I gave you food because you were hungry," he said, "but I stayed, because you reminded me what it means to be human." Ravi smiled. "Then maybe being human is something worth teaching the galaxy." Far above them, a signal light blinked on the pendant one last time. It was a message. A beacon, not of war, not of fear, but of hope. Somewhere, the last blood speaker had lit the flame again, and this time, the galaxy might finally be ready to listen.